GrowCFO is where finance leaders grow together. Join thousands of like-minded professionals using GrowCFO to access the combined knowledge and experience of the finance leader community. You can join us today, growcfo.net.
Hello and welcome to the GrowCFO Show. I'm your host, Kevin Appleby, and today I've got a returning guest, Melissa Hurrington. Now, Melissa, last time we spoke on the show, we spoke all about servant leadership. I'm sure lots and lots of things have happened since then, and I thought it'd be good to catch up.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here today.
So, Melissa, before we get into the nitty-gritty, just remind folks about who you are, what you do.
Yes, Melissa Hurrington. I'm in Omaha, Nebraska, a place most people have never been, and that's okay. I'm not sure why you would come here, but right smack dab in the Midwest. I'm the CFO and VP of Operations of Premier Claims. We're a public adjusting firm, and we work property insurance claims, but we advocate on behalf of the policyholder. So we go toe to toe, head to head up against the insurance carrier and hold them accountable to paying out your insurance claim appropriately. I've been here, I just crossed 7 years with Premier Claims. Started a baby startup. I was employee number 4. And then actually since we talked, my last podcast with you was in our old office. We purchased a 44,000 square foot corporate headquarters. So it's been a fast and furious 7 years, a ton of learning lessons and a lot of fun, a few gray hairs.
Yeah.
We're thriving.
So 4 employees has gone to how many?
We're currently sitting at about 80 full-time employees and 150 1099 contractors.
Right. That is quite a phenomenal rate of growth.
Yeah, it's been exhausting and energizing at the same time. It feels like we could do it all so much faster, having done it once to be able to do it again. But man, it's been the ride of a lifetime for sure.
But there's a whole other side to Melissa Hurrington. There's
Yeah.
the influencer on LinkedIn.
Yes. The accidental journey of LinkedIn for sure.
Accidental journey. Accidental?
It was accidental. It was accidental at first. For sure, I did the thing that everybody tells you not to do, and I used LinkedIn as my personal diary and felt like I would just say the things that I wanted to say and were top of mind, and turns out it was things that were on the mind of other people as well, but they weren't quite as emboldened to put it online where it lives forever, and yeah, we're here now. That's been a wild journey.
So what sort of things were you putting online back in the beginning?
Back in the beginning, it was mostly happy little quotes. I love quotes. I people in my life, I get like the quote calendars and little coffee table quote books. I am a sucker for quotes. And so it felt like a place to go post those where they'd live forever and I could go back and grab them if I wanted them and not adding much to it. Over time, it evolved into quotes and adding my thoughts to them or why this quote impacted me. And then the big turning point, light bulb moment, I suppose you could say, for me was actually COVID. And I'm so tired of talking about COVID. And I know everybody else is as well, but it really was a defining moment in my LinkedIn journey, specifically thought leadership journey. A couple of days into COVID, like really go back, you're still going to work, sporting events were still happening, but things were getting really serious really fast. And I can remember exactly where I was standing. And if anybody remembers, it was the Big East tournament. I'm a Creighton basketball fan. The middle of a game in Creighton basketball, game canceled, tournament canceled, everybody go home. And it was like one after another after another. The NBA season was canceled and this was canceled. And all of a sudden, like everything was quickly shutting down. And everyone's head in the room snapped to me. Like, what's the game plan? How are we going to get through this? Are we going home? Are we not going home? How is everybody going to work remotely? To work property insurance claims, you have to visit the property. So, how do we plan to survive as a business and work property insurance claims when nobody's going to go into the outside? And I didn't know the answers to the questions. I was terrified of not knowing the answers. I didn't know what my next move was, and it felt like everybody else had all the answers. and they were just competently moving forward. And I was panicked that I was going to be the CFO that sunk a company because I didn't have a game plan for a global pandemic. So I did the only thing I knew how to do and use my network. And I called and texted and sent LinkedIn messages and emails to anyone I could get a hold of, had ever crossed paths with in any way, and asked, "What's your game plan? What are you doing? How are you guys surviving this? Are you freaking out? Because I'm freaking out." And person after person after person responded to me and said, "I don't know. What's your game plan?" And it just kept hitting me again and again and again, like with each response, like this weight being lifted off my shoulders of nobody else has a game plan either. Everyone else is equally scared. I felt like I, for the first time, wasn't alone. And my husband took a picture of me that lives in LinkedIn forever. And it is, I'm sitting at my kitchen table, and my daughter, who was 2 years old at the time and had no concept that mommy was working because mommy was at home, and those two things had never coexisted, right? And he took a picture of me, and I'm business casual from the top up on a Zoom call, yoga pants and fuzzy socks on the bottom, like everyone else at the time. And sitting there on the Zoom call, my daughter's crawling all over me. And I posted it to LinkedIn, and I simply said a lot more words, but I simply said, "This is hard. This is hard. It's hard to be a leader right now. It's hard to be an individual producer right now. It's hard to be a parent right now. It is hard to be a human right now. This is hard. Give yourself grace, and probably more importantly, give everybody else grace." And I received message after message after message after message from people who said what I was feeling. I thought I was the only one. And that was like this light bulb moment for me of like, you know what? I'm just going to say the quiet part out loud. I'm just going to say the thing that needs to be said and be the one to say it. And most of the time, it's the thing that I need to hear. And that's where like my true LinkedIn journey started.
Okay. So, was this the way your LinkedIn journey continued? Just being absolutely honest.
Yes. So I'm somebody who's always fought against the grain, naturally a little bit of a disruptor. Probably drove my parents crazy growing up in that way. Of like, can we just take the easy path sometimes? I'm like, yeah, but I want to be scratched and bloody and bruised and go this way and create my own path. I've always had a little bit of that personality. And there was so much freedom for me. It's very self serving. There was so much freedom for me in just being authentic, like dropping the mask, stopping pretending like I have it all together, saying I screw up sometimes, saying this week I posted about a conference that rejected me to come speak at their conference that's right here in my hometown. I got the no thank you letter of just being the one that's like, yeah, I get no's too, because especially on social media, everybody sees all the wins. You see the perfect family photo and the magical holiday moments that they're creating at home that everybody else made time for, and the promotions and the pay raises and the new business launches and success after success. And it can feel so isolating because it doesn't feel like that's your reality. So everyone else is doing so much better than you are. They have it all together. And so for me, it became what I needed, truthfully, to just show up and say, sometimes I don't have all the answers. I'm never the smartest person in the room. And if I am the smartest person in the room, like we go to a different room. Like we got problems. If this is as good as it gets, exit immediately.
Now, it can't be all that bad because, after all, you did make it to CFO.
Boy.
Right.
Yeah. Like I said, if I'm the smartest person in the room, find your nearest exit, grab an oxygen mask on your way. Yeah, I mean, I have things to offer, but so speaking of that specifically, like going back early on in my career, I did not think I could be CFO because I thought CFOs were way smarter than what I had to offer. We're better at X, Y, Z qualities, skills, competencies, that they were this uber confident person in their swaggy suit in the corner office who had it all together. And that wasn't me. and I couldn't see it, and it was never going to be me. So truthfully, like, I placed a ceiling on my own career as a result of that. I've also been somebody that's very, like, practical and real and just, like, own your flaws. And so as a result of my flaws, that wasn't gonna be an option for me. And then I had a CFO at some point in my career who showed their flaws, owned their mistakes, was so comfortable saying, "I have no idea. I'm about to go Google that." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, you Google things too?" Because boy, if anybody pulled up my Google search history, I'd
Mm.
be fired, right? Like, how many times have you Googled how to spell the word separately? For whatever reason, I can't get the E's and A's figured out. Just, like, shameful things that you shouldn't have to Google, right? At one point, I think earlier in this year, I was like, "What's the accounting formula again?" I just, in a weak moment, was like, "Assets plus what equals." I'm just gonna Google it, and then I'm like, "Oh my gosh, if anyone looked this up, they'd be so embarrassed for me." And now I'm just gonna publicly say it, right? But I really did. I placed this ceiling on my career until I saw someone who showed me that they didn't have it all together. Like, they didn't have the perfectly pressed suits, and they were kind of a mess sometimes and missed events for their kids and were late to that meeting or whatever it may be, but a brilliant CFO. Without a doubt, the leader the company needed at that time, especially. And it lit a fire in me of like, maybe that is something that I can achieve. Maybe that's something that can a rung on the ladder that I can add back to the top of it. And especially on LinkedIn, for me, it's become this journey of vulnerability that the dream would be that someone else sees themselves in me and thinks that they can achieve more. And it's become this like passion and this heart mission for me to be the kind of leader publicly that I wish I would have had and did eventually get earlier on in my career to say they don't have it all together. They're not sacrificing time with their family for their role. You can be both a mom and a CFO. As a society, we put people on a pedestal, and sometimes, man, did we put the wrong people on the wrong pedestals. And then it's that like moment, so many people experience it. It feels like, especially that first promotion from individual contributor to manager, that first time like you're invited into the room and then you come into the room and you're like, this is how y'all make decisions. This is how it goes down in this room. That it's like this wake up call for everyone of like, man, I could have been in here a long time ago.
Yeah.
So that was
And
a the answer, but I think we got there.
a classic thing that we see in GrowCFO around most new CFOs is they suffer from imposter syndrome. They
Debilitating.
do not think they're good enough. And
Yes.
hearing your voice that says, "Look, I'm not perfect. I'm not the
Mhm,
brightest person in the room."
mhm.
That, I think, is just fantastic to hear, and that absolute honesty. Now
Yeah, I have debilitated imposter syndrome. So we are fully in office. So I pull up to this building every single day. It's this big old white building on top of a hill. And honest to God, every day I pull up into the parking lot and I hit park and I'm gathering my things. And I, at some point on that journey, think to myself, I wonder if today is the day everyone finds out I have no idea what I'm doing. Well, let's go in there. Let's see. Let's see if you get exposed today. I mean, daily have thoughts that cross my mind of today's the day they're going to think, how the hell did you get into your position that I've just tricked and fooled everybody along the way? My very first speaking engagement that I ever did was at a CFO event. And I had a panic attack in my hotel room, and I don't have a problem saying that, and I called my husband. It was shortly post-COVID, like, people were starting to come into the outside, and I think that added to it. And I called my husband, and I said, "I'm not getting on that stage." And it was just a panel, it wasn't that big of a deal, right? And I was like, "I can't. I cannot do it. I'm booking a flight, I'm coming home, I'm going to send the event coordinator an email and cry COVID. Oh, no, I just tested positive for COVID this morning, I can't possibly come to your event." And he was like, "Why?" And I told him, and I quote, because these are real CFOs of real companies. I don't belong in the room, let alone on the stage with a mic in my hand. All I'm going to do is show them what an idiot I am. And he said, "Melissa, aren't you a real CFO of a real company?" I was like, "I mean, I am, but, like, not like that." Like, immediately shut it down. And then he made a joke, but was also serious, and he said, "If you are not a real CFO at a real company, and every single day you leave the house, you're lying to me about that, you got bigger problems than stepping on that stage, because this is gonna be, like, the biggest fraud you've ever pulled off in your whole life, is lying to me and going to your little CFO job every day that's not real at a not real company. I don't know where the paychecks are coming from, but they're coming from somewhere." And it hit me, and I was like, "God, I've just felt like I was playing pretend all this time. I am a real CFO at a real company." And long story short, I did walk into the room. I did walk onto the stage. It was fine. I was panicked the whole time, so I'm sure I said nothing brilliant. And then afterwards, sitting at round tables and enjoying the rest of the conference, somebody at a breakout, like a networking break, asked a question, and I naturally, like, leaned in and answered it and was like, "Oh my gosh, here's what you need to do. Here's who you should reach out to, blah, blah, blah." And then I sat back and thought to myself, I just answered a question for one of those real CFOs at one of those real companies, and how powerful that moment was for me to realize that, like, we're all just doing the best that we can. I'm just, I suppose, willing to be a bit more vulnerable and share that publicly than other people who are still trying to pretend like they got all the answers.
And I don't think any of us have got.
No. To be honest, you should be alarmed by anybody that thinks they have all the answers. Right? Like, that's the actual room you don't wanna be in, is with the person that's like, "Oh, I know everything. I don't need help. I am the smartest person in the room." That's the person that you should have warning
Mm.
flags going off in your head and wanting to get out of there.
I do like being in rooms that have got some pretty smart people in there.
Oh my gosh, and just absorb and just be a sponge.
Yeah. Certainly one of my key values is sort of, I call it freedom of association
Oh my gosh, I love this.
with people that you can learn from and have the right conversations with and grow from. One of the reasons I actually love podcasting is the people you get to talk to.
Yes.
Yeah. So, Melissa, just before we started recording, you said something to me. There's kind of two Melissa Hurringtons. There's Melissa Hurrington on LinkedIn, and there's Melissa Hurrington, the CFO. Tell me a bit more about that.
Well, I'll challenge you. There's only one Melissa Hurrington. This is what you're gonna get at a baseball game and a boardroom and a date night with my husband and all hands with the company, whatever it may be, and on LinkedIn. But I have been very intentional about separating, especially on LinkedIn, and building my personal brand. I am Melissa Hurrington. I wake up as Melissa every day, right? And really wanting to separate out when people look at me, I don't want to be defined by my title. I don't want to say, like, "Oh gosh, yeah, that's Melissa. She's the CFO of X, Y, and Z company. You have currently Premier Claims." I don't want that to become my identity. And I started to be really intentional. It started first with not wanting to be siloed into the CFO space. When my LinkedIn first started really growing, was 95% of my engagement came from other people who held the title of CFO. And that's amazing. I mean, that is a blessing in itself that other CFOs even want to engage in any of my content, like, make no mistake there. But again, I felt like I was starting to get so siloed into Melissa, the voice of CFOs. And at the end of the day, my, like, true message that I would like to be my legacy far transcends the CFO space. So I started to be really intentional about separating, like, when someone logs into LinkedIn and sees a post, I want them to think and know, "Oh, that's a Melissa post. That is a Melissa Hurrington post all day," and have it be that, Melissa Hurrington, and not, "Oh, this is Melissa Hurrington, CFO of." So I did start to be really intentional there of building my personal brand, the one that will stay with me regardless of what company I'm at, regardless of what's next for me. And since this is being publicly recorded, like, let me be perfectly clear, I'm happy as a clam and my work is not done here at Premier Claims. But I'm not naive to the fact that I won't retire here. There'll be whatever is next, and I look forward to the day that next presents itself. But I will forever be Melissa Hurrington. There's another creator who's become a personal friend of mine, Darren K. Roberts, Coach DKR, law student to NFL coach. He has a really cool story. His series is all around this is not about sports, and it's like life and business lessons presented via sports clips. And as a sports fan, love it, love him, love the goodness that he puts out in the world. But one of his big messages, and he starts every keynote this way, and I've been very lucky to see it before, is that we are all going to die. That's how he starts his keynote. And keep that in mind. And in our conversations and the presentations he's given, his underlining message is you should spend more time building your obituary and not your resume. And I was at what felt like in the moment, like the peak of my career of like pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. I'm going to be a brilliant CFO, this and that, and like all things that are resume additions. And then realizing like nobody's going to put on my headstone CFO Premier Claims from this date to this date. It's not something that's gonna stick with me, and am I really doing things that are gonna build my true personal legacy? What do I want to be known for? And so I started to be very intentional about separating those things. Yeah, I think we got to the answer of that question.
Oh, Melissa, what do you want to be known for? What do you want to see in that obituary?
Oh gosh, certainly I hope that my children still love me, my husband is still with me, all of those things. But at the end of the day, I really want my legacy to be two things: that I showed up authentically into every conversation, every moment, and that I encouraged others to show up authentically as themselves as well, to drop the mask, stop putting on the costume, changing to leave it at the door corporate mentality, that I get to show up as a wife, a mom, a CFO, a human being having human experiences, and that those are all intertwined and you don't clock in and out of those things. So, certainly that. And then a big pillar of something that's important to me is empowering women. RBG said it best: women belong in all places where decisions are made. And some days I think to myself, like, who the heck do you think you are taking on topic like that? But I can't change the world. I can't change the country. I cannot move the needle forward for an entire gender by any stretch of the imagination, but I can change my environment. I can impact in a one on one conversation with someone else to kind of tear down some of the barriers they've built around themselves so that they can pursue the next thing for themselves. I can make sure that there's gender equality and gender parity in whatever organization I'm currently working in. I can challenge social norms in my circle. I can call out when things aren't the way that they can be. And I can certainly leverage my LinkedIn platform, and I do, to challenge people to see a different perspective. And those are two things that I'm so passionate about, and it really fills my cup to talk about them on LinkedIn, talk about them in person, talk about them at Thanksgiving dinner. Certainly a better topic than politics, right? So whatever it may be, that is what I hope is my legacy.
Wow. Yeah. So, and the word that I got out of that is passion.
Yeah, I'm very passionate
I
about it.
guess. Now, you've got a choice. You can just show up at that big white building every day, park your car outside,
Yeah.
argue about your imposter syndrome with yourself before you go in, and just get on and do the job as a CFO.
Mhm.
Instead, you elect probably every day
Mhm.
Go and put a message onto social media, LinkedIn in particular, and you're not promoting. I mean, many people are going and doing that because they're promoting a brand, they're promoting a business.
Mhm.
You're not doing any of that, but you're putting it there anyway. So that passion that comes over is just phenomenal.
I don't have anything to sell,
Yeah.
right? I don't have a way to monetize it. I'm not interested in monetizing it. It is a passion of mine. I tell everyone, like, I'm not a hero. I'm not wearing a cape. It is very self-serving. Of a lot of times, it's because then the responses that I get, the messages that I get, that I'm so grateful people take the time to send them to me, fill my cup. It reignites my passion, it fans the flames of it consistently, and at this point, I don't probably go more than 2 hours without getting a message from somebody on LinkedIn, not selling something, we get all those too, right? But a direct message from somebody that whether this post specifically resonated or I have an incredible network of people who will reach out to me and say, like, "Because of you, I decided to apply for that job, and I just wanna let you know I got it." That's amazing. Like, that's absolutely amazing, and I get messages like that all the time. My favorite LinkedIn interaction of all time. It happened in person here at a CFO conference this past fall. And it was actually a male, which a lot of my followers, because of my message, are women. And it was a male that chased me down at the conference and said, I was hoping you were going to be here. I've followed you on LinkedIn for a couple of years. And he first said, like, can I give you a hug? I was like, sure, let's hug it out. What are we hugging about? And he said, I need to thank you, and that's wild to hear, but he said, "I have daughters who are in college and starting to pursue their own careers, and you have changed my relationship with them because you shared with me perspective that had never crossed my mind because this was never my reality. And you have started so many dinner table conversations, text conversations with my daughters, and have shown me how to show up and support them in a different way. And that is, at least to this day, and it's going to be hard to top it, one of the most powerful interactions I've ever had as a direct result of the things that I choose just to say on LinkedIn. And I tell everyone, I'm telling you, I'm typing those things in front of a mirror. But like I'm saying the things most days that like I need to hear just as much the reminders that I need. I'm still battling that imposter syndrome. I'm still learning to tear down brick by brick the walls that I've built up around myself, and so I am equally talking to me when I'm talking to anyone else, and it's just been this unexpected ride that has been more fulfilling than anything I could have ever imagined.
Mm. So, how many followers do you have on LinkedIn?
It feels like such a weird thing to talk about. I'm very close to past 20,000 followers.
And did you consciously go out to try to build followers, or did it just happen?
So I did in 2022, there was some momentum building, and my message was starting to really be clear. I was posting stuff kind of all over the place, but then like those patterns started to emerge, the things I really wanted to talk about. I probably slowly started to tear down some walls of what was going to be like acceptable enough and not too far out there or piss enough people off. So like some stuff was becoming, I was getting some clarity around it and it was resonating. And I did at that time in 2022 got really intentional about building followers because I also at that point, that was about a turning point for me where I was starting to take LinkedIn seriously and I was wanting to separate that like CFO silo and just becoming Melissa Hurrington. So I needed to expand outside of the CFO network. So I was sending significant amount of connection requests. I was kind of maxing them out from LinkedIn for like what the different silos were that I was trying to get into, for lack of a better term, and kind of worked my way through the C-suite and adding them in. So 2022, I was very intentional about followers. 2023, anybody who dabbles in any capacity in social media, it's like you learn the different algorithms and stuff. 2023, I was very focused on building my impressions on LinkedIn. So that's essentially your reach. How many people are you going to reach? So I was very intentional there in 2023 with growing that. And then in 2024, I pivoted from there to engagement. So not only that somebody stopped scrolling long enough to read something is what qualifies as an impression on LinkedIn, but I started pushing into the engagement. So I wanted to post things that were resonating enough with people that they wanted to engage in some capacity. 2023, I had great impressions and very little engagement in terms of like benchmarking and things. So 2024, I tried to push that engagement piece. And with that, the followers have come on their own. That it's no longer, at this point, the only connection and request I send is when I meet somebody and actually want to be connected with them. So then the rest have come organically on their own, which has been really nice to kind of watch that community curate itself.
And I think there's a thing about LinkedIn that if folk interact with what you're putting out, if they engage with it, that's the sort of thing that LinkedIn will then show to many more people. The organic way, therefore, to grow
Mhm.
your following.
Yeah. They've changed their algorithm several times over the last couple of years and kind of relearning what it is and understanding what makes it tick. I spent quite a bit of time and energy on that in 2023. And then in 2024, I was like, you know what? Whatever the algorithm is, whatever change it is, the message is going to reach the right people. And I don't want to force anything. So I'm just going to take the feedback as it comes that you post that message and it doesn't seem to really go anywhere. And you post this one and it goes like crazy. Then that message simply resonated more than the others and focus a little less on that. And I will say, pulling off that like really strategic kind of use of LinkedIn has been very liberating as well and has made it a lot more fun. Again, not that I ever wasn't having fun with it, but it feels a lot more natural for me as well.
Yeah. You've never monetized this, but it must have opened some doors for you.
Sure. I'm a big believer that your network is your net worth.
Yep.
And yeah, LinkedIn has been very good to me in opening doors in different ways. I did a ton of speaking engagements in 2024. Every single one of them a direct result of someone who we've been connected on LinkedIn for a long time.
And you didn't
Sure.
skip out of any of those saying you had COVID?
I haven't I haven't yet no showed to a commitment that I've made. Doesn't mean I haven't thought about it, okay? But nope, I've done it every time, scared every time. A part of, like, my standard keynote that I give is to share that every time I do one, my Apple Watch, because I talk with my hands and I get very nervous, my Apple Watch asks me if I'm working out every single time. It's about 5 minutes into it. It's like, "You seem to be working out. Do you wanna record a workout?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not. I'm just really stressed." And
Then
my
there's
hand
no option on the list of workouts that says giving a presentation.
yeah. Facing your fears burns 150 calories a minute. I don't know. Yeah, so it's done that, and then it has expanded my network in unimaginable ways, having personal conversations with people that without trying to put them on a pedestal, but with people that I feel like, "Man, you are so far out of my league." But yes, it's been very gracious to me in that way without forcing anything and just seeing what comes and having what feels like casual conversations with people that I've idolized for years. And yeah, it's been just a ton of fun and embracing the wave and riding it.
So anybody on the way up that's looking to become a CFO for the first time, what advice would you give them about networking?
My advice would be that get into a peer network. Immediately get into a peer network. You get to the top of an organization and it is so isolating. It is so scary up there sometimes. And yes, I report to the CEO, and he's a brilliant man, and it's not a dig on him in any capacity, but he is not going to teach me how to be a better CFO. So when you're in a controller role, when you're the director of FP&A, you have somebody above you who can teach you how to be better at your role. And then like you get to that C-suite and it's like, "Oh gosh, I'm all alone up here and no one's going to teach me how to be better at my craft." And so getting into a peer network, two things: A, iron sharpens iron. So go be with your peers, be able to ask them the dumb questions, learn from their scars. Peer networking is so powerful, but I think the most powerful thing is people are like, been there, done that, had the scar to prove it. Let me show you so you don't have to get the scar too and suffer through it. So that like iron sharpens iron. And then the second thing is, especially if you're somebody that struggles with imposter syndrome in any capacity, that you sit down at that table with other people who are real CFOs of real companies and you realize that they don't have it all together either. Every CFO conference I have attended, I have left with inspiration and ideas and ways that we're going to implement AI and a new vendor. Sure, all of those things, right? But more than anything, my takeaway every single time has been I'm not alone. I'm doing just fine. Because it is wild to hear other stories of sometimes you're sitting across from a Fortune 500 CFO and they're facing the same issue that you're facing at your small to medium sized business. They're struggling with the same thing. And it's like, okay, we're not the problem. This is just a reality. They're dealing with talent management just as much as we are dealing with it. Yeah, that just in general, leaving with this like, I'm not alone. Everyone else is struggling with that too. And there is so much freedom in it. You can be such a better leader, such a better CFO when you feel empowered to make decisions and you're not sitting there in that analysis paralysis of, is this the right decision? Am I even capable of making this decision? And all of those doubts and thoughts that come in your mind. It's just that friendly reminder of other people have these things too. So you just got to make the decision and keep it moving. I got you sick through the Zoom. It happens so quickly.
So, Melissa, we're recording this on the 18th of December, 2020.
Okay.
What's 2025 got in store for you?
Man, I haven't fully decided yet. I'm completing my vision board on Friday. What does 2025 have in store for me? So I'm just going to say it publicly. I'm going to put it out in the world. I want to write a book. And I have a handful of offers out there, and so starting to get through that would be just the honor of a lifetime. So I want to at least make forward progress. I'm not gonna write it in 2025. Gotta be realistic about capacity, but I would at least like to have some decisions in place and feel like I'm making progress towards making that dream a reality. I am looking forward to continued growth of Premier Claims in 2025. Really excited about things we have going on here. Most specifically, the leaders that report to me. I'm so excited to see their personal growth and watch them step up and evolve. It's my favorite part of being a leader. And then I'm sure you can expect a lot more sass and vulnerability and a lot of fun happening on LinkedIn as well.
That sounds brilliant. I'm really intrigued by the book. What's it going to be about?
I really want to write about what I mentioned earlier that I would like to be my legacy of authenticity and vulnerability. I really think authenticity is a superpower in leadership. I think the next generation is going to demand it. And it can feel scary to show up as a whole you because not everybody likes the whole you, but that showing up authentically, being real, owning things like imposter syndrome are specifically for women, but that's how we are going to reach the top. That's how we are going to move the needle and get to gender parity a lot quicker, is if we stop getting in our own way. That there's systemic issues that need to be addressed, but as women, we are really good at slowing ourselves down because we doubt ourselves, think we're not enough, we're not ready enough, we're not smart enough. So we hold ourselves back just as much as some of those systemic issues remove.
Let's not view on that is that I don't think there's any difference in being ready between men and women.
Yeah.
The men probably disguise it better.
Oh, for sure. But I think there's stats out there as well of that men will apply for jobs that they have 30% of the requirements for, and women historically won't apply unless they check 100% of the boxes. So we can cry foul all day long and say it's a shame that only 10% of Fortune 500 C-suites are CEOs, specifically are women. Or we can say like, "Well, how do you expect us to get the job if we're not applying for it in the first place because
Yeah.
we're doubting ourselves?"
I'd also say that doubting yourself, only applying when you have 100% of the boxes ticked, is holding you back massively.
It's
I really
it's
don't believe
1,000%.
you'd go into any job that you've got more than 60% of, because
Yeah,
where's the growth gonna come from? No?
absolutely. Yes, absolutely. And so I think there's a reality if somebody waved a magic wand and fixed systemic issues that have been around historically, that women still would not reach true gender parity as a direct result of us. Because again, like, how are you gonna get there if you're not even applying for the job? Nobody out there is tapping you and saying like, "Hey, I really want you to take this next step." I shouldn't say no one, it's happening, right? But not that often. So women need to get out of our own way. If we spent half the energy we spent building those brick by brick walls and then crying when we're tired having to climb over them, that we will advance ourselves so much further and then watch the other issues kind of resolve themselves as well.
Now, Melissa, I think we're going to a whole other podcast here.
I know,
Um,
gosh, trouble.
so much that more that we talk about, but I'm
Mhm.
afraid for today, we've probably talked to people for far longer than their car journey that they were listening to this, far longer than their gym session. So, need to say, Melissa Hurrington, thank you for being a brilliant guest on this week's CFO Show.
Thank you so much for having me. This was a lot of fun.